Thank you, Brent. All right, John Gibbons, special thanks to him for stepping in for the program today. A little schedule mix up on that, but John's going to talk to us about global grants. So John, take it away.
They asked me about 15 minutes ago if I'd give the program today. And the thing is, I have been involved in global grants for about 15 years. Actually, it was matching funds or matching grants. And a few years back, it became a global grant program. But it's essentially the same. I think all of you know that one of the main goals of Rotary is international service. We have club service, we have service to the community, and so on. But one of the main goals of Rotary is international service. And if you read the Rotarian magazine, you'll always find articles about the international service in the magazine, because a lot of the funds of Rotary go not only to other countries, but some to our own United States. Believe it or not, we're one of the countries. We right now, and it's easy to get a project through an approval for a global grant. The global grant can be initiated by a club, or it can be initiated by the district. And now it is possible for Rotary clubs to sponsor a global grant. And our money for global grants comes primarily from clubs and the district. Sometimes several districts, we get together and do an international project. You probably remember one we did a few years back to provide a bus in Macedonia for disabled students to get them to school. It had to be accessible, handicapped accessible. And the bus they had was really old, falling apart, and it was not handicapped accessible. And so we did provide that bus. One of the problems with global grants is it takes a lot of time to get it approved, mostly to raise the money. At this point, club donations into a grant do not get matched. All the years that I was in the global grants program, we had a 50% match. And when it was matching grants, that's what it was. But our Rotary Foundation, the last 2 years has had serious problems with two things. One, of course, is they aren't getting as much funding from Rotarians. And the other problem they have with it is there are so many clubs and districts that are sponsoring global grants. So their money gets used up. And that's not bad, but it's meant that in order for them to not turn people down and say, okay, we want to build a medical dispensary or something in another country, and we have the people there interested in doing that, but you can't do it because we don't have any money. So what they've done is reduce the matching. Our district funding that we use for global grants is part of the DDF, district designated funds. Those funds come in, all the donations to the World Fund that are held by Rotary Foundation for 3 years. And they supposedly use the money, the earnings. They don't use the original grant amount. They use the earnings. Well, right now, the earnings aren't too great. So that's another reason why they are coming up short. But it doesn't mean we can't do global grants. We still do them now, but it seems to take longer. And more of the money has to come from clubs like ours. And our club has always been very interested in doing global grants, doing projects overseas. Ever since I've been a member, we've had projects going even before there were such things as global grants. And, you know, we've done things all over the world as a club. But our club has been participating because in my position, I'm the district chairman of the Global Grants Committee. And I have been so for 5 years now. And I like the job because I like working with people overseas in different countries, getting to know them and being able to help them. It's kind of a fun job. It's a busy job because we get a lot of requests for grants. I probably receive 2 or 3 a week. Now, those aren't global. Those are all coming from other districts. But as I said, people in more than one district can go together to do a global grant. And so other districts are seeking out others that they can work with. But that part of the job is busy because if the project even seems interesting, I've got to vet the project. I have to get enough information about the project to pass on to my committee. We're a subcommittee of the foundation committee, the district foundation committee. And so I have to satisfy the members of my global grants committee. And then also I have to satisfy the people that are in the foundation committee. And also I have to satisfy the district governor. So I have to do some vetting. And I'm a little bit careful about what I try to look at. As a result, I can't do very many that are not in this district. Now, as far as district global grants are concerned, I will spend most of my effort to get those done. And it ends up that because it's a complicated application, that I usually end up doing most of the work on anybody's application. I did one for the Springfield Club here about 2 weeks ago. And they started a global grant. They had some contact in a foreign country. They learned about a need. They made friends even with some of the people in the local area where they wanted to do their grant. Now, global grants are usually bigger. Some people have done small grants, but they're not global grants. You have to have at least $30,000 need to even begin a global grant, and I've seen them as high as 400,000. There's probably no limit if the grant is big enough. Now, anything over 100,000, the entire district, the entire committee or board of the Rotary Foundation has to approve anything over 100,000. And it's only a few that they okay in a year's time. But just anything under 100,000, it just has to be really approved, not only by our people in this district here, but and if you're working with another district, their district governor and their district foundation chair have to approve them. But if it goes on further, with other districts, we may have 2 districts or 3 that we have to get approvals from, and that does take time. And that's usually what delays, one of the things that delays. In fact, we had one project here a couple of years ago, we just never could complete it because the district officers in that country, it was in Uganda and Africa, because of religious differences they had with the village where this was going to take place. I was kind of ashamed of Rotary that we had to see that as a reason why a global grant was not completed. But that's the only one in my experience that I've ever heard that was never completed. Right now, we have 2 particular global grants in this club, in our club. And because of my position, I try to encourage us to do these global grants. We have an extension of other grants that we have given to African Vision of Hope. That has always been a very, very successful project. Every project we've had there has been successful. And I think this will be the 4th one, Bob, something like that. And so, and they're fun to work with, and they have a really great need. And I think a lot of us here locally are donating to their cause. We support that cause. And so that's one that we're working on now. We just finished one up last year. And then we have one that's in India. TK Partha has friends over there that he knows. And they are working with him on a project, and he's going to tell you more about that on next Monday evening at our club assembly. But we try to at least have one project coming out of this club all the time, because I believe in it, and I think it needs to be done, and I'm willing to work on it. There are about 5 projects in the district that are still either in this process of being approved and put together. There's, out of that 5 right now, there's 3 of them that are actually being funded. One of those is kind of an interesting one that we've heard about, and that's the vocational training team. 3 years ago, the vocational training team was put together. The team leader is the Rotarian from the Pittsfield Club. And Eric Dolbear, he was a district governor about 10 years ago. But he's a farmer up around the Pittsfield area. He has 2,400 acres he farms, he and his wife. And they actually farm. I mean, they get on the tractors and do all the work. And the project, that particular project was to teach in Zambia, in the country of Zambia, teach the farmers how to raise corn. Well, there's probably no place in the world that raises corn better than Illinois. And particularly the part of Illinois that our team was from. And it turned out to be a 3-person team. Usually there are about 5 people. But one of them is an agronomy professor at Illinois State U. And the other one works for the seed companies, and he's their outreach man. He goes around and he talks to the farmers and the Grange clubs and all of those things. And that team, in the first year, there were 11 farmers that they worked with. In fact, African Vision of Hope helped us to select the farmers. They're in the general area of one of their schools. And those 11 farmers, half were women. That's very common. The small farmers, maybe 3 acres, 5 acres in Zambia, usually are not always, but quite often are run by women. The men work on them too, but the women run the farms. And so half of those 11 farmers were women. And after their first harvest, the average increase that the team was able to help them get was 240% in their yield. And it was very fortunate because that particular year was a drought year in Zambia, at least that part of Zambia. And as a result, those farmers were able to not only feed their families, but also to have grain to sell. The second year, they told all their friends and neighbors, and they got 80 farmers, an additional 80 farmers. And so at this point, the crop is being harvested. Well, it will be harvested probably this month or early next month. They have a different growing season. They plant in November, December. And in the last 2 years, they have maintained the same extra yield. Some of the farmers got 300 or 400% increase because they followed the suggestions of the VTT team, and so they got the most yield. But the team was working with all those farmers directly, and they've been going back now every year, the same team. And we have a follow-on program there, and that's another global grant to keep it going. This year, they're going to start a co-op with the farmers that they have. They'll have about 140 farmers this year. And so they're going to set up a co-op. In the first year, we asked the farmers to just plant one acre. Whether they had 3 or 5 didn't matter. Plant 1 acre using the methods we use here in the USA, and plant the rest in their own way that they've been doing for 100 years. So they could compare. And but in the second year, every one of those farmers planted their entire farm using the Illinois farming methods. And this coming year, it's the same way. This crop that they put in this year. But it's a way, in that country, there is still a lot of starvation. Older people and young people, children. And most of the farms, most of the food comes from these local farms. So it's important, and we hope that it'll spread to that whole country. The Rotary Club that helped us there is a Rotary Club in the capital city, and they've been very helpful to reach out to the different farmers, to reach out to the people who provide the inputs to the farm, seed and fertilizer and pesticides. They're not allowed to use genetically modified seeds, but they do use hybrid seeds. And the hybrids that they have are developed here in the United States and have been really successful there. But that's one project that I like a lot. It's a project that we'll probably will continue on and help this co-op so that it operates and becomes successful. But a club can start a project. If somebody in our club, like TK, comes to me and says, we would like you to put together a global grant for a project, I will work to get that done. And chances are we have enough funding on the district level that we can give a big donation into that project. Most of the projects that we have right now get at least $10,000 of district funds, and then that is matched by 80%. So a $10,000 donation is really 18,000. So it's over half of that 30,000. But we have to raise the rest of that. And so Bob Burles and I go around to the different farmers, to the different clubs rather, and ask them for help. And a lot of the clubs are donating into these international projects. It's really hard to find a good project today, but because we don't have that many connections anymore with foreign countries in Rotary. We used to have the group study exchange program, which our club was very active in. We always had them here, and they were from countries all over the world. And we brought back a lot of these projects from there. For example, the Macedonian project, when they were here, that was one of the things they asked us to do, was help them buy a bus. So that's one way that we can start a project, or the district itself can start. When they started the project that I was just talking about with the farmers in Zambia, and the district has provided all the funding for that project. Some people have donated things, like particularly people over in Zambia have donated things to the project, like some of this fertilizer or crop, some of the seeds. But primarily the money's coming from clubs in our district, and it's hard for them to know what kind of needs there are in another country that they could help with. I mean, I don't think we don't like to start a project with another country unless there is a local club, a local Rotary club that's willing to pitch in and make the thing happen. Because even though we will be sending people there to help get the project going, our people can't spend very much time. Yes, sir.
Question, John, I want to thank you for stepping in the last minute to do this presentation. It's very informative. You know, I feel like I know a lot of this stuff. It was one news that you shared. But I'd like everybody to give you a round of applause. Thank you for stepping up, and ask you to be signing up for 50 tickets today.
What did you say there?
You guys like to give
At the end.
Well,
Like I say, I have a committee that I work with for these global grants from all over the district. And I'm just one guy on the committee. And, but I do enjoy doing it. Physically, I can still do it. Maybe someday I won't be able to. But I like to see our club stepping up and getting involved in this kind of a project, and we always do. We always have. Primarily, the last few years, it's been with African Vision of Hope, and that's really worked out well. So I'm not going to spend any more time talking about this. If anybody has a question, I'll be around afterwards here. And if you think of something that you want to talk about, or you want to propose that we do on a global grant, just let me know. Call me up. Tell me at a club meeting. So I'm done.